like to call the Thursday, June 3rd, 2021 meeting of the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals to order. First order of business is, would you please call the roll? Here.
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 So the second part of the business would be to approve the previous minutes. Gene makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Rex says second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Second would be a motion to adjourn pursuant to the county board's vote on petitions 21-P-1561 and 21-P-1562. Do we have a motion to adjourn that meeting?
So moved.
Mike makes the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Craig seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Old business. Hearing for petition 21-P-1563 BSW Devco LLC Big Sky Repower will be continued to June 10th at 6 p.m. That's only as an announcement. New business. Petition number 21-P-1564. Petitioner is John Thanos. Permit parcel number 11-16-09-100-019 in Lee Center Township. Petitioner is requesting a special use to utilize the property as a private club. Is the petitioner present? Would you please come forward? Raise your right hand and be sworn in. You solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth. I need you to sign it, print your name. And then one more time, you need to state your name. And there's a microphone for you to use. But you can sit.
John Thanos.
Okay. And you might have to pull the microphone a little bit towards you so that everybody in the back will be able to hear. Okay. Tell us about your project.
Okay, so we built a little 650 square foot building on the property, and we want to utilize it as a private club, just the building itself, to have friends, family, and guests over. Kind of reason why we're asking for this is so, keep us in check. If everyone's got a problem and they don't like what's going on, they could come before the county, or I don't know how it quite works, and they could say, hey, this guy ain't doing what he said he was going to do, and we'd like, stop what he's doing. It all started out during COVID. We built the building, and it was just going to be, just a place to put stuff, hang out, and then there was nothing to do. So we're all carpenters, and we kind of got crafty with it. And one thing led to another, and when it was all said and done, we're like, oh my God, what do we do? And like, well, why don't we, turn into a little private clubhouse? It's not going to be open to the public. We're not going to advertise. There's no signage going to go up. It just basically, if you know what's there and you know us, you're allowed to be there.
That's this building. It's not in that picture? This picture?
The aerial photo is from 2019, Bruce.
Right, it's right.
It's right there.
Right.
Okay. The building is. Okay. So you say 600 feet, so it's 20 by 30?
Yeah, it's 20 by 31.
Bathrooms?
Yes, I got pictures on my phone if you'd like to see them. That way you can kind of see what it is, if that would help.
Was there a house and well there before then?
There wasn't a house, the well electric. We cleaned up. We're going to build a house there. We were going to do it last year and then COVID hit and price of lumber went crazy and we kind of did this project. But I did it with all rebates I had from other projects we had, so it really didn't cost much to do it. But this fall, we're going to start putting the house up on the back part of the property, on the other side of that silo, which the house is going to go. House is going to go right there. You already got all the utilities and everything ran there, right?
How big is your lot there?
3.74 acres.
So what's your definition of a club?
It's gonna be like a social club, just, hang out, and raise a little money. And what we're gonna do with the profits is we plan on donating to, like, youth club and Amboy Depot days. It's really not about making any money. It's probably gonna be 15, 20 people a week. It's not gonna be, nothing out of hand or crazy. So, and then myself or my wife will always be there when, someone's there. So there's gonna be no employees, nothing like that.
Is there a membership fee?
What's that?
Is there a membership fee?
Yeah, it'll be a membership fee, be like $20 a year.
Qualification?
Basically, know ya, just want good people, just a place to hang out, kind of stay away from the bar scene and, things what people got in common.
Are you gonna have any set hours or?
Well, we applied, originally we applied for a liquor license. So, with the hours of liquor license, so we're not gonna, it's not gonna be open at 1 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock at the latest. Sundays, it's family day, so it won't be, nothing will be going on Sunday. So it'll basically like Monday through Saturday, maybe from like 5 till 10.
Do you applied for a liquor license?
We did, and when we applied for it, I went through the background check, a fingerprint and all that, and they said, okay, it's all, you're approved, we'll mail it out. But then I guess when they went to issue the liquor license, the zoning came up, and I didn't really know anything about it either, because the zoning was AG1, and they said, I'd have to come before you guys and, see if you'd even allow it, approve it. So that's kind of why I'm here.
Why do you need the liquor license?
Because, we're going to have liquor in there, and, I'm just, that, if we get money, I just don't want to take, break any rules, take any chances, get in trouble. And since, people will be drinking in there, we're going to have all the insurance, I just kind of rather just be 100% legitimate with it. And
So then if you got this special use, then you would apply for a liquor license.
well, we already did apply for the liquor license.
Did you say you would have insurance then?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Dram shop?
Dram
insurance?
shop insurance, and then my insurance agent from Muffleman's. But Ruddy's got all kinds of umbrellas and stuff, for liability. God forbid something happened or
Well, I
got
understand.
sued, and want to make sure, nothing happens, neighbor's property or that. So I just want to make sure, because, at the end of the day, I got a lot to lose too.
So do you understand what a special use permit is?
I was explained it'd be just for that building only, and it just would be contained to it. It wouldn't be any other part of the property. And then my understanding is if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, you can yank it away, and that's my understanding. This is all new to me, so.
Do you want to explain that a little more?
A special use? Special use is a use either public or private that would not be appropriate generally or without restriction throughout a district because of its unique characteristic, but which, if controlled as to number, area, location, relocation to the neighboring uses, might complement and promote the public health, morals, order, comfort, convenience, appearance, propriety, or general welfare. After due consideration in each case, such uses may be permitted in specific districts as special uses, and appropriate additional regulations imposed if specific provisions or guidelines are provided for said special use and additional regulations in a particular district.
The one thing you didn't say is that it is only his special use, correct?
That's the definition I gave you.
Right, but I mean, not a zoning on the land. It's a zoning to him.
To him, correct.
You're not the owner, then the special use goes away.
Correct. And
You understood that?
yeah, oh yeah. And like I say, we're going to build our house there. I'm going to be living on the property. So no, we don't have a house yet there. Like I said, we got the utilities, got everything, you know, the ball rolling on it for back there. And we've upgraded because it was an old farm when we bought it and it was a mess, the property. And we've been cleaning it up for a while, trying to, you know, make it look better and upgraded all the power on the property. And
No,
You intend to track your income and be able to pay the sales taxes and other.
we'll have a computer there, you know, we'll log everything. We're going to, you know, have to follow the, you know, especially with a liquor license. My understanding is after, if, you know, if this goes through and we get the Lee County liquor license, then we got to get the state liquor license as well. So, and then I, you know, I own another construction company too. So we have an accountant, so it'll all be done through an accountant. And then obviously the books will be open, you know, for inspection. And
Nobody else gives us an opinion. Lee Center doesn't have anybody.
gave Bruce, there's an appearance form that I gave Bruce.
So that's, we haven't asked.
No, I mean, you know, Spikes the Blood made an opinion
Oh.
on this.
Lee Center doesn't have their own
They don't have any
planning
board to do
commission.
anything.
No, they don't.
Lee Center Township Board doesn't do anything.
No, I notified the Lee Center Township Supervisor and the Road Commissioner, but I never got a response from them.
Are there any members of the audience that have questions or comments? Yes? Would somebody like to come up and be sworn in? That's fine. I can walk back there too. Huh? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth? Okay, I need you to sign that. Print your name and then state your name to the board.
My name is Gerald Doody.
Can you spell your last name, please?
D as in dog, U, V as in Victor, E.
Good.
I'm the property owner across from where this is going to happen. Several questions. Why a private club? Why not just have buddies over on a weekend? A private club seems to be a lot of hoops to go through, just for a place to come and have a beer.
Go ahead.
Well, the reason why want to do it this way is kind of, I mean, be respectful to the neighbors. Say, we didn't do any of this and I had like 100 people over there and just, it was a free for all, which that's what we don't want to be. So I figured if I went through all the proper channels and, there's eyes watching this, there's could be some, recourse. And, we're going to be charging, I'm not going to be supplying, beer and all that to my, people are coming in. So I figure we charge for it and we have to have a liquor license and all that good stuff, to come with it. So just trying to, just do it legitimately and.
Okay. So who actually will own the club?
I do.
According to the private club statute, it should be owned by members.
Well, right now I'm the founding member on we formed LLC and I'm the only member right now.
Okay. Do you plan to make money off this?
Well, that's what, yeah. Well, it's not a non-for-profit.
I think a private club is supposed to be for nonprofit. You're not supposed to have any pecuniary gain from a private club. And alcohol should only be sold as an incidental, according to the statute. How many members are allowed? Not how many you're planning on having, but I mean, you could conceivably have what, 200 members?
Well, we're kind of figuring 50 members, cap it off.
But you could have more if more people wanted to, or if you wanted to, right?
Well, it's only a 650 square foot building. There's 20 stools in it. So
Okay.
not like you could put a lot of people inside the building.
All right. Will guns be allowed on the property?
No guns and alcohol. It's against the law.
I'm right across the street, and I've got an apple orchard, and I have a beautiful view of an old Quarry Lake. It's probably about, 150 feet from their property to where this lake is. How would you keep people on your property and not have a few drinks and say, hey, let's go take a look at that lake, and they stumble on my property, break a leg, fall over the embankment, who knows, even, fall in the lake and drown? Is there any ways to keep people kind of contained?
Well, like I said, either, when there's someone there, it's open, myself or my wife will be there. It's strictly inside. It's not going to be an outside, venue at all. It's inside, come hang out. So, and then, obviously we're going to keep an eye on, how much people drink, because I don't want someone leaving there and get, a DUI crashing, that at the end of the day, I'll be liable for it. So, and like I said, it's kind of, going to be a thing where, like a social club where you come hang out, have a comment, not, like going to these bars with a bunch of young kids and the testosterone flying. So that's kind of why we're doing this.
I know this is kind of conjecture, but are you planning any special events, having bands?
No, not at all. And as a matter of fact, when I applied for the liquor license, it asked if you were going to have bands and things like that. And I even put no on that as well.
Are you planning on any to-go sales?
No, it's strictly in that building, in the building only.
All right. And I'm sorry, I was a little hard to hear earlier, your hours of operation?
Well, we're thinking maybe like 5 at night, 4 or 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Because, I got to get up, go to work in the morning. My wife's got to work. So it's not, definitely not something that, we're planning to keep open all night. Obviously we need to be respectful to our neighbors too. And you being right across the road.
Well, that's all the questions I have.
That?
That's all the questions I had. What? Oh, no. Will there be a portion later that we can read or like say a piece rather than just ask questions?
We can continue with other people asking questions
Okay,
at this time.
thank you.
I have a question. How many days do you expect to be open?
Probably like Monday through Saturday. I mean, and that's, I'm just going, long term. It might not even be open that many days. Because that, it'd be membership, members and all that, and they'll be like, hey, so someone gonna be there, obviously if there's no one there and it's like one person, not even worth being open for that day because it costs money to operate it.
Are you gonna be open before you build your house and live there?
Yeah, yeah.
How far away do you live now?
What's that?
How far away do you live now?
About 15 minutes.
Anybody else from the audience want to say something? Please stand up. Come up, be sworn in. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth? And would you sign your name? Your name?
Gail Dowell.
And you beat me to it. You stated your name. He was reading what he was writing.
I live down the street road, half mile maybe at the most. I've got the property directly behind him, the pasture. And I have concerns of the traffic on that road because it's on a S-curve. And if any of you have been by there, you come up to the road and it slants down. And since they've resurfaced the road, like most roads, once they resurface them, the speed limit goes up. And we have a lot of traffic on that road, especially on the weekends. About the club, you talk about things that could happen. I've found fence down in my pasture that vehicles have driven through, backed out and drove away. Now, whether they were drunk or whatever, I have no idea. But I know that can happen. I have a gate in the back corner of his property and my property, just in case cows get out, I got a place to get them back in. Now, could somebody just go open that gate and go for a walk? Yeah. Could it? I don't know, but there's a potential. And I guess in my mind, you want to have friends over, fine, have friends over. We all have friends over. I just don't want a bar down the road from me. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else? You solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth. Sign your name. Print your name and state your name. Thank you.
I live just down the road, about 3/4 of a mile on Rock Road. I can see this property from my house.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you say your name?
Gordon Ewell,
Spell your last name, please.
UHL. I can see this property from my house, and I just found out about this meeting this afternoon, and just sitting listening to the conversation here tonight. Just a few things I want to comment. We live in a farming community, and very family-oriented area. We all have family over. My family's fairly large. We have large gatherings, but it's typically family. And, you know, I think the crowd that's here tonight probably feels the same way about keeping this a farming community, not a club community. And as Gail stated, that's a dangerous curve there. And I guess my one question I have is it going to need to have special signage for a club on that road? Like Gail said, there's a lot of traffic on that road. So are we going to need to have law enforcement to monitor traffic? That may not happen immediately, but what's to say this isn't going to grow into something that does require that? Will the special use be restricted to the interior of the building? Or is it the whole property? Can anybody answer that?
You answered that before.
Right, it's just gonna be in the building and we're not gonna expand onto this building at all.
But does the special use regulate that? If he gets the special use,
He gets a special use, we can put special
okay,
rules on it.
okay.
And the question I have for him is there going to be a designated parking area?
Right in front of the building.
Okay,
Because the back, like I said, where our house is going, that's all off limits.
because that would be part of the special use would be. the
Right,
parking
it'd just
in
be
the
right
rear.
there in the front and to the side of the building, up in that area. Basically from where the silo was back, my house is gonna be back there. And obviously, you know, I don't want people to come over wandering past my home either. So my house will actually be in between that building and Gale's, the fence back there where the cattle pasture is.
Will there be any other activities happening in that building now or future, such as gambling or other things like that?
I don't know. I don't have that answer right now. I mean, you know, we're gonna have like a dartboards, jukebox.
That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
Would I be able to read a letter from someone else? They couldn't make it tonight, so they wrote a letter and asked if. Okay. All right, this is from the Mitzies. They are the people that actually own the quarry where the lake is now.
Okay.
To whom it may concern, we are landowners in Amboy with property adjacent to the Thanos parcel. We have met with Mr. Thanos and we have heard and understand his plan. While we do not find fault in the objective presented, we have a vested interest in this matter and wish to express our concerns both personally and with respect to the immediate adjoining parcels. First, we are concerned about the effect of agriculture and aquaculture. Adjoining parcels have poultry, waterfowl, fish, cattle, and crops. Large crowds, noise, and disruption can directly affect productivity. Second, we want to express concern for the safety of Lee County residents and visitors. Inlet and Rock Road is a dangerous location. It is a T intersection of two rural roads on a sharp S-curve with no lighting. Local travelers experience frequent close calls with campers, sightseers, and those who drive the curve too quickly. We hope not, but fear that the addition of alcohol and new traffic to this scenario would contribute to increased volume, accidents, and trespassing. This leads to our personal and final concern, the quarry. How and at what cost can we protect those not educated on the property? Across the highway from the proposed club is 45 acres of water and enticing property, including a treehouse. Where does the liability lie in the event of trespassing or, heaven forbid, drowning? Are adjoining parcels responsible to fence any areas of concern? We have plenty of trespassers currently without a club across the street. We appreciate the time spent on this matter and your consideration for our concerns, Max and Katie Mitzi. My concerns echo that. I'm the one in between those two properties. And if this goes through at a very minimum, I'm going to have to put up no trespassing signs, probably a fence. This is very serious concern for me. I'm really concerned about people, going on onto the property. Again, don't understand why it can't be a private club, why it can't be just a man cave, and take it to a higher level as a private club.
I have a copy of that letter.
You certainly may, yes.
No. Okay, go ahead.
How far down the road are you?
Me?
Yes.
Directly across the street, 1065 Inlet Road.
You own the quarry?
I don't own the quarry, the Mitzi's own the quarry, the people that I just wrote the letter to.
Huh?
The people that I just wrote the letter,
Oh, okay.
they own the quarry.
Oh, I thought you were the other guy, gentleman talking.
No. And good intentions can easily spiral out of control. That's why I asked the question about how many members of this private club are allowed. I just think about those poor people in Oregon who have property right there by where the Blackhawk statue is. And they've got a bar there that just decide they're going to play music all the time. And those poor people get no rest. And I don't know how many times that guy's been arrested for disturbing the peace. He still just keeps doing it. This is a neighborhood. I know we're spread out. We're, probably my nearest neighbor is probably about a quarter mile away, but this is a neighborhood. And it, as they said before, it's agricultural, it's quiet. We'd really like to keep it that way. So, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? More questions from the board? No, finding fact.
Yep. So we go through and do a findings of fact. So we have something down. So the first, we have four paragraphs that we work off. The first one is the effect of the proposed use on the character of the neighborhood. So you guys can give me any thoughts. I'll read what I got here. So the effect is probably a moderate level. The property sits on 3.72 acres. The pre-existing outbuildings fits with the use and character of the neighborhood, which is now ag. There are 2 farmsteads close to the property, therefore a moderate effect to the neighbors. However, this will affect the neighborhood as it is spot rezoning and conflicts with the Lee County Comprehensive Plan. So that's my thoughts. Anybody else want to add anything else?
Okay.
I agree, it's spot zoning, and when I think about what are other places of business similar or whatever at, they're generally in towns where you've got more control and you've got law enforcement there and everything else. I think our county's got 2 deputies on the whole county every night, if I remember right. As far as how things are handled in other areas, this kind of gets back to why, certain things are spot zoning that don't work as well, compared to, putting them in certain zone areas to keep them together and for all purposes, and one is law enforcement, this type of thing, and so everything's in the town, in a town or whatever, then the law enforcement can keep a better, control over what's going on and an eye on it anyway, compared to being scattered around the county and stuff.
You could add that about the law enforcement in number 4.
Yeah.
there's nothing else, I'll make that motion. You reread it? I make a motion that the effect upon the proposed use on the character of the neighborhood is moderate. Property sits on 3.72 acres. Pre-existing outbuildings fits with the use and character of the neighborhood at present, which is ag. There are 2 farmsteads close to the property, therefore a moderate effect to the neighbors. However, this will affect the neighborhood as it is spot rezoning and conflicts with the Lee County Comprehensive Plan. That's my motion.
That's a motion. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Gene, second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
So the second one is the effect of the proposed use upon traffic conditions. And for sure, there will be an effect. There will be an increase of traffic depending on the hours of business, including the weekends. Traffic includes cars and trucks, but no heavy equipment. The curve on Inlet Road where the driveway is located could pose concern when entering and exiting the property.
It's a bad spot to get in and out of.
Is that, he talked about building a house and is that already, that will fit zoning and whatever, put a house up there next?
His Lisa score was 216, so it is a buildable lot according to the Lisa scores.
But we haven't applied for a building permit for a home.
Not yet.
Somebody applies for a building permit, how long do they have to begin building it?
The building permit is good for 1 year.
So I'll make a motion, the effect of the proposed use upon traffic conditions moderate. There will be an increase of traffic depending on the hours of business, including the weekends. Traffic includes cars and trucks, but no heavy equipment. The curve on Inlet Road where the driveway is located could pose concern when entering and exiting the property. That's my motion.
Second.
Greg seconds. Any comments? Questions? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Number 3 is the effect of proposed use upon public utility facilities. I got none. The property has well, septic, ComEd, therefore the effects are minimal. Anybody disagree with that or anything else you want to say? I make a motion that the effect of the proposed use upon public utility facilities, none. Property has well, septic, ComEd, and therefore the effects are minimal. That's my motion.
Second. Gene seconds. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Number 4, the effect of the proposed use upon public health, public safety, and/or general welfare. Well, this is where you could talk about public safety, your law enforcement.
Yeah.
It puts more of a strain on law enforcement. I got a few other things, a couple other things here. This would be considered a spot zone in a rural agriculture area, and it would be a precedence for future zoning. This does not fall in line with the Lee County Comprehensive Plan. Therefore, it does have an impact on the general welfare of the Lee Center Township and its citizens. And it creates a strain on law enforcement. So,
And then his comment,
yeah, then, and I can add that in the motion if you want.
add that into the motion.
Okay. So my motion is the effect of the proposed use upon public health, public safety, and our general welfare. Moderate. This would be considered a spot zone in a rural agriculture area, and it would be setting a precedence for future zoning. This does not fall in line with the Lee County Comprehensive Plan. Therefore, it does have an impact on the general welfare of the Lee Center Township and its citizens, and creates a strain on law enforcement in the county. That's my motion.
You have a second? Second. Gene, second. Any comments? Questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
That's the findings of facts.
We're ready for a motion.
Since we're done with the findings of fact, then I'll recommend the petition 21P 1564 by petitioner John Timmels to the county board for approval.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to send it to the county board for approval. You call the roll. What's that? Is there any discussion? Huh? No,
Any discussion?
we did have a second.
Discussion.
Huh?
Discussion.
Discussion.
Yes.
Yes, my hearing aids, one is gone. It's not working. Excuse me. Microphones. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. Call the roll.
No.
No. No.
No. Your motion is not carried by this board. It'll go before the full county board. There.
Okay, no, I understand.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Click on this timing.
The next petition of the evening is the matter of petition of the Lee County Zoning Office. And it's petition number 21-P-1565. The petition is for the text amendment. Petitioner's Lee County Zoning Office states as follows: the petitioner desires to amend 10-15-20 solar energy systems under Title 10 of the zoning regulations in the Lee County Code of Ordinance. Before we get into this, hearing on the proposed text amendment solar ordinance, the Lee County Code states the county board may from time to time initiate a map amendment, a text amendment, or supplement, or change by ordinance any regulations herein established upon its own motion, or after receipt of appropriate petition or recommendation of the zoning enforcement officer. The county board shall then refer the matter to either the Board of Appeals or the Planning Commission for proper hearings, all in accordance with 55 Illinois Compiled Statutes 55-12014. On May 20th, 2021, the Lee County Board by vote referred a proposed text amendment regarding the current solar ordinance to the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals for proper hearing. A hearing on the proposed text amendment was placed on the agenda for the June 3rd, 2021 meeting of this ZBA. The notice of tonight's hearing was published in the Dixon Telegraph on May 20th, 2021. This proposed text amendment is the product of an ad hoc committee created by the Lee County Board for the sole purpose of preparing a text amendment with regards to the current solar ordinance. The ad hoc committee held 5 meetings. Each meeting lasted approximately 2 hours. Members of the public were permitted to present at and participate in each meeting of the ad hoc committee. Minutes for each of the meetings of the solar ad hoc committee can be found on the county's website. The procedure for tonight's hearing will be as follows. Presentation of the proposal text amendment by the zoning administrator. Zoning administrator D. Duffy will go through the proposed text amendment, highlighting the changes that have been made. Comments by interested parties. Each interested party will be given a maximum of 10 minutes to address the ZBA. Interested will not be under oath, and therefore, oh, my microphone went out, and therefore cannot be cross-examined in order to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to be heard. Decorum and order are expected by all persons present here this evening. Action by the board will then vote to recommend, not recommend, or recommend with modification the ordinance to the county board, who will then be free to accept or deny this said recommendation. If the ZBA feels the text amendment should be denied, it should state the reasons why. With that, D. Duffy will make a presentation.
Thanks, Bruce. Hopefully everyone received a red line solar ordinance as you walked in the room tonight. I say red line because red line on the documents are changes that came about from the solar ad hoc committee. I'm going to briefly go over some of the primary changes to the original solar ordinance, starting with the definitions. The ad hoc committee felt that there should be defined explanations to the wording that are used throughout the ordinance. The original ordinance, fencing, was minimally addressed. The amended text gives the applicant more direction on what is required for fencing. Equipment and fencing setbacks was another change that the ad hoc committee felt needed to be modified. The original ordinance required all equipment to be set back a minimum of 50 feet from the front property line and 15 feet from the side and rear property lines. That distance has now changed to the 15 feet from any property line. Also included is the 400 feet minimum setback from an adjacent non-participating primary dwelling. The term exclusion zone was introduced during the ad hoc meetings so that an 800-foot by 800-foot square exclusion zone centered on the adjacent non-participating primary dwelling foundation would be required. Screening or visual screening was another topic that the ad hoc committee studied. The applicant shall be required to adhere to the options in the amendments to help minimize the visual impacts of the solar farm. Another addition to the text is the community meetings. This idea was brought about from previous solar projects and landowners wanting to know more about the proposed solar development and how it will affect them. There was very little direction to the applicant involving the road use agreement in the original ordinance. The county engineer broadened this language and the stormwater management requirements to a more precise and understandable text. The ad hoc did add to the decommissioning section that would piggyback with the agricultural impact mitigation agreement language. These sections are just a few of the proposed amendment that have been made to the original solar ordinance by the Solar Ad Hoc Committee. The zoning board would now like to hear comments from you, the audience. Please raise your hand if you'd like to speak.
I don't need to be sworn in, right?
No.
You have 10 minutes.
Yep. Good evening. My name is Adam Hinkle. I am here on behalf of the Lee County Farm Bureau, Illinois Farm Bureau. I am president of the Lee County Farm Bureau. Thank you for the opportunity to submit all of these changes, all of our proposed amendments we've added throughout the process here. I would like to share a few of the follow-up comments that we emailed to you. We mailed some letters out. The following are the amendments we propose for your consideration. Number one is the applicant definition. We would strongly like to see the landowner removed as the applicant. That opens up a whole scenario that we cannot deal with. The definition of an applicant needs to refer to the solar energy system rather than the site. The vast majority of solar farm developers lease land for solar farms, and the landowner has no ability to apply, construct, or operate a solar farm or comply with any of the regulations imposed on applicants in the proposed ordinance. In the unlikely event that a solar farm owner and/or operator also owns the land for a proposed solar farm, then our proposed definition also includes this owner and/or operator. And if you read down through, you'll see we've added the owner and/or operator, just some changes to be made there. The second item we wanted to make sure is considered tonight is the fencing. Dee read off some of those changes, but the fencing and screening requirements appear to create scenarios where both of these requirements could result in additional farmland being removed from production. The fencing setbacks require the fence to be placed at the boundary of the exclusion zone at the request of a non-participating residence owner, even if the solar farm is located further away than the exclusion zone. This ordinance may also require a screen to be installed immediately adjacent to the property line of both a platted subdivision and a non-participating residence, which may or may not be at the same location as the required security fence, depending on the location of the solar panels. This could result in fences and visual screens being installed in different locations, requiring additional farmland to be removed from production. We are proposing the following changes. Under Section 2, fencing setbacks, Item 3, we want to see a minimum of 400 feet from the foundation of the non-participating dwelling. And also under design standards, number 1, security fencing may be incorporated into a visual screen installed on the property leased by the solar energy system in accordance with Section D, Paragraph 1, Subsection K, Part 2. Third major highlight is the proposed screening. Just talked about the fencing. Under Section K, Point 1, we want to see the screening be as close as possible to the security fencing required by Section D, Paragraph 1, Subsection E, Point 1 of this ordinance, while still providing adequate clearance for maintenance. Also, point 2 under Section 2. Also, again, with the as close as possible to the security fencing required by Section D. This comes up quite often throughout the fencing and screening proposals that we need to have a set distance, but we want to make sure that the screening is put as close to the security fence as possible so we don't leave a gap. We can have weeds grow, and again, there's unused farmland that's being taken out of production by having any gaps in those areas. The biggest thing, Lee County Farm Bureau, Illinois Farm Bureau, American Farm Bureau support solar energy systems. wind farms, everything else. But we like to see them placed on brown out sites, right of ways, permanent pasture, areas that are not currently farmable or very marginal farmland, not some of the best black soil in the world. Any questions? I tend to go fast. Did everybody get a copy? Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Adam?
Hello, all. Thank you. My name's Adam Luz, Lee County resident, of course, and I've addressed you all several times throughout our journey. Very appreciative that we are where we are today compared to the original ordinance. I think when we look at that ordinance, we didn't have these large SESs in mind that have come to the county. You know, we went through ad hoc meetings. I participated in that heavily, along with a couple other residents. The solar industry was there with their lawyer, some county board members. Obviously, there was good collaboration, and there was give and take to the process that led us to this document. I know Adam talked about a few things, you know, with visual screening. You know, the industry themselves actually advocated for that visual screening to be put, I believe, closer to the residents. And again, we were trying to get the fence set back in the exclusion zone. But certainly what he referenced, you know, the visual screening could be moved back towards that fence. Potentially that was an option that was laid out that we went back and forth with in ad hoc meetings. With the topography of some of the land, there was concern that maybe the visual screening wasn't going to have as much of an impact if it was out further. But again, I think placing it one or the other makes sense, maybe not in the middle of that exclusion zone. But again, I really didn't have prepared comments to speak. I was going to more observe the process. And, you know, again, there was compromise, you know, in this ordinance to try to buffer the deployment of something as large as what we've had to encounter or endure here in this county. So I really don't have anything else. That's all. If you've got any questions at all, I don't know why you would. But thank you.
Thing with the first solar, neighborhood. How did this community meeting fit into that? Is that something that your neighbors were interested in?
Yes. So in ad hoc, specifically, I believe Ms. Duffy was able to bring this up to talk about. And last night I attended Duke Energy's community meeting that they had here in the courthouse. What I would tell you specifically from my point of view as a resident that knew nothing about the project that came near our house, I had 14 days, you know, before I was in front of you all learning more about the project and trying to get my mind around what the impacts were potentially. And I looked to the ordinance that we had at that time where, you know, we could have a 30-foot tall structure, 15 feet from the property lines, you know, with a 6-foot chain link fence and barbed wire, you know, right around all the farmettes. And it was dramatically impactful. When I talked to the neighbors and I knocked on doors, you know, that motivated me to get involved. So again, to go back without getting down a rabbit hole, I think that community involvement would be good. I think it would be nice to try to excel past state statute, you know, and give more notice when we have massive projects that are going to be petitioned. It would be nice to have more than, you know, what I recall to be a 14-day notice, right? So that, you know, if we're going to walk down this path, I guess, or this journey, you know, everyone, you know, can be involved and it not be just a shock, you know. You know, again, I feel like we've seen a lot of testimony about non-participants and what impact this might have on their property values. And we're moving in the right direction, I think, to try to help buffer things for all. Again, if we're going to go massive like we are, there's many counties, I will say, I mean, There's many counties that don't allow massive sites. There's counties that we talked about in ad hoc that limit to 50 acres, right? So, I mean, this is if we wanted to go with, more language in this and start thinking about other things, there was plenty of areas, in here, we talk about setbacks even on the back 80, right, that we farm. When we talk about not taking more land out of production, if you have a chain link fence, right on the property line, it's a security fence. The farmer next to that around the whole perimeter of 5,000 acres is going to lose 3 or 4 feet because he's going to stay back from that fence. So take 3 or 4 feet times 5,000 acres of how much more gets out of production. So in here, we talked about setting the fence back 3 feet from that property line. I would have liked to have seen 15 feet. And I thought I was being minimalistic, right? At saying, hey, we ought to set it back 15 feet. So maybe with 5,000 acres, someone could get a backwind mower around the perimeter that was referenced in some of the testimony, right? And we didn't go that far, right? It was a compromise. I didn't get 15 feet on what I was suggesting. It was 3 feet, which does at least give the setback. The neighboring landowner wouldn't lose the ability to farm, or it would minimize the impact. I mean, if you add that, that 3 feet up around the whole perimeter of the site that is saved, now we're adding to the buffer zone, the exclusion zone that we talk about, to try to, again, minimize the footprint of these. If we talk about impacts, specifically for me to get it off my chest, it's a massive, I drive all over Illinois and I see a lot of substations popping up at all the different wind energy sites. The substations are all different size. It is an industrial site that the industrial company or the industrial site, it's no longer ag, it's industrial. That site is. It's all chain link fence, barbed wire, and then there's a massive energy structure that's there. And they can be dramatic, right? There's battery banks that go in there, and that's what was proposed by my house. Air conditioned and heated 24/7 with lithium batteries, semi-trailers, 10 of them or whatever was proposed on that site to be setting. And that's going to be, when you talk about what we just saw for a petition and the impact on the neighbors, I mean, if I've got 10 lithium battery banks sitting within close proximity, I mean, really it could be within 400 feet potentially, I think. I don't know, we're within 1,000 feet of our house. It's a dramatic difference, on what the environment is that we're living in. With massive substations, and I don't know how many more we go with in the county. Obviously, with every one of these, we have more. So again, we're placing them in a populated area potentially. So there are different aspects of the SES that have different impacts. We don't just focus on the panels, but the substation. I don't know that we fully wrapped our mind around that in this ordinance, but
So the meeting that we're talking about, getting back to that would be before the petition would be filed?
What-
Page 7. Community meeting.
I'm sorry, Bruce, I can't hear you.
Wasn't me, it was Craig.
It was me.
Or Craig,
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, the community meeting, would that, it's filed?
Yeah.
That would go before the state requirement of 30 days then.
Oh, no.
state requirement's
It's-
14, sorry. I think it's 14 days.
Yeah, that's not part of this. Yeah. It has to be 45 days prior to the hearing of the petition, the community meeting. Sorry.
There wasn't really. I was appreciative that we were even going for a community meeting that gave that type of time frame because it's give and take. A little more transparency instead of feeling like I think just the last comment, again, the exclusion zone around non-participants. I mean, it was give and take from everybody. We had that larger, it was a larger exclusion zone. I would like to see it held. I would like to see what we arrived at, for setbacks in here to be held and for nothing to be, minimized. I'm hoping this can go through really essentially the way that it's written, other than some valid points, that he had made as far as, that definition at the beginning of landowner versus, there's some things that are sensible like that again, but a lot of the core of this, we really went back and forth quite a bit on through all the ad hoc meetings that we did, and again, it was a compromised, conclusion. So that's all. Thank you. Anything else?
Get first and second,
He said, get a first and a second.
and then if there's any discussion or debate. A motion and a second. Correct. I would like to correct. Second.
I can't hear you, Mike. I'm sorry.
I don't know if your microphone's working.
There, don't work. Maybe it's me. So the changes that have been suggested, if everybody agrees to them, can the county boards still make them changes before they vote on them? I'm asking the two county board members that are here. Right.
So if you're looking to make changes, you still can, but you have to follow the same ordinance process.
Question, if I'm correct, Mike, once you guys pass your judgment on it, if we then change it before we vote on it, and have something different to approve, yes, then, and we have to go back to them again?
No, we
No.
never go back.
How many county board members joined me?
So was Farm Bureau involved in the ad hoc? Did Did you have these comments from Farm Bureau before? I just throw it out that it seems like a legitimate, they should have some input someplace along the line. That's all I wanted to say. I'm not going to make a comment in one way or the other.
Any other comment? I think, from my perspective, I think it's best just to go ahead and present it to the county board the way it is. And then we can make discussions, and within, a month, 2 months, whatever, if there's any other modifications that we see that need to be done, I think that can be taken up at that time. But I think the important thing is to get the ordinance on the books now. And if the county board decides that they want to change based on that recommendation from the Farm Bureau, and the Farm Bureau obviously could have been at the ad hoc meetings at the same time because everybody was invited to that. So I think, at least that's my opinion on what we should do. Anyway.
Question of legality, Charlie. You put this new ordinance into effect, any negotiations that a company has done previous to this new ordinance will not be affected by the new ordinance. They can start negotiating beforehand.
I guess it depends on what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't think it's at all practical.
But in the past,
They're talking about certain fees and tax whatever kind of setback.
but in the past, we couldn't change anything after we found out some of these large companies were coming in because they've been started working 3 years before, or whatever, securing their land and stuff.
That all depends on what part of the application process. They're just working on taking these agreements. They haven't applied them. So it's not effective.
This would take over any position to be what we find.
Correct.
From the vote,
Being asking, no, back, I can't remember the date of the politics, but claiming that particular time, the ordinance needed to be passed. So we had something in effect. Anything above and beyond that after could be amended. Correct? I want to follow it. Okay. We're talking about the original ordinance being amended, second ordinance, second ordinance, so about five. So we started on this, one way and one. Working on changing that. But when I put it more form, one floor, we have more table, have the board. Yeah, got it. And the explanation, always on the board. We always again, even though we passed that. Correct that.
county board can always be anyway.
Correct, but again, if they were gonna go through those minutes again after that, say this will go through. Pass by, and then 2-3 months from now, if they want to, yeah, they have to go through that same process. never do that. Wouldn't be the first thing. I think we need to have something. There's been basically a full agreement. Or whatever.
The Ed said it right. I give it, I said it on every. It was, people were getting things that out of my little bit, but I have to make sure that I'm not creating. There was yeah, I'm not sure if that was consistent with other zoning ordinances that were out there. That time,
So the ordinance we're replacing was the original one in 2017. I recall the date on that. December.
correct.
The one that had to do with community storage
Yeah.
as well. Any more discussion? Hearing none. You call the roll, please.
Yes.
I'll abstain.
Yes.
I abstain. Motion carries, goes to the full county board on the whatever day. 17th. Huh? Okay. We have a date? 17th, okay. With that, there's no more new business. Does anybody have any other comments? Dee, do you have any announcements? May we hear a motion to recess until after the county board meeting?
Recess till at the county board meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? And we'll see you all at the recessed, okay, I'll stop. The recessed